Have you ever had one of those conversations where you start off normal and then your mouth just keeps going? Like you're telling a harmless story and suddenly you're casually revealing your childhood trauma, your last heartbreak, the fact that you cry in the shower sometimes, and your entire emotional operating system to someone whose last name you don't even know. And then you leave the conversation and your brain goes, "What did we just do?" Your stomach drops. Your face feels hot. You replay every sentence like it's evidence in a courtroom. You start imagining the other person telling their friends or judging you or remembering that one line forever, and you think, why do I do this? Why can't I just be normal? If that's you, first of all, you're so not alone. Second, you're not crazy, you're not too much, and you're not broken. People who overshare and then regret it are usually dealing with something deeper than bad social skills. Oversharing is often a coping strategy, a bonding attempt, a stress response, sometimes even a nervous system shortcut. So let me show you what might be happening inside your brain when you accidentally open the emotional floodgates, and then immediately want to move to a new country afterward. Picture the moment it happens. You're talking to someone. Maybe it's a coworker, a new friend, a stranger in a taxi, and the conversation is light at first. Work, weather, weekend plans. Then they ask one question that's slightly personal. How's your family? Are you seeing anyone? How have you been? And something in you goes, finally, a real moment. Because if you're someone who overshares, you're often someone who craves depth. You crave honesty. You crave real connection. Small talk feels like eating plain crackers when you're starving. So when someone opens the door even a little, you sprint through it with your whole life story in your arms. You're not trying to be dramatic. You're trying to feel close. And that's important to understand because oversharing is often a connection move. It's your brain saying, if I show you the real me, maybe you'll show me the real you. Maybe we can skip the surface level stuff and actually be human. That's the romantic version of oversharing, but then reality hits. Because not everyone is ready for depth at the same speed you are. Not everyone has the emotional capacity. Not everyone earned that level of access yet. And your nervous system knows that a few minutes too late. So you regret it. Now, there are a few psychological engines that can drive this pattern, and you might recognize one of them immediately. One engine is anxiety, not the kind where you're shaking and panicking, the kind where your nervous system is trying to manage uncertainty. Social situations come with uncertainty. Do they like me? Am I being weird? What should I say? How do I connect? Oversharing can be a way to remove that uncertainty. Because if you reveal a lot, you force the interaction to become real. You force a response. You force clarity. It's like your brain hates the slow build, so it goes, let's just jump to the truth and see what happens. It's emotional fast forwarding. And if you've ever noticed that you overshare most when you're nervous, that's not random. Talking can be a soothing behavior. Some people tap their foot. Some people scroll their phone. Some people talk. Talking releases tension. And when your brain is tense, it doesn't always choose the most strategic content. It chooses what's available, what's charged, what's been sitting in your chest all day. So it comes out. Another engine is loneliness. This one is tender, so I'm going to say it carefully. If you don't feel deeply seen in your daily life, then a simple conversation can feel like a rare chance to be understood. And when you finally feel someone listening, you pour. You open the valve. Not because you're desperate for attention, but because you're thirsty for connection. It's like carrying a full glass of water through a desert. The moment you see someone with an empty cup who seems kind, you want to share. You want to finally let some of it out. And then later you think, why did I tell them all that? But the truth is, your nervous system wasn't trying to embarrass you. It was trying to be known. Another engine is boundaries, not in the moral sense, in the nervous system sense. Healthy sharing has an internal pacing system. It's like a thermostat. You share a little, you check the room, you share a little more, you check again. Oversharing often happens when that pacing system gets overwhelmed, usually by emotion, stress, or a lifelong habit of not having safe boundaries modeled for you. If you grew up in a family where privacy didn't exist, where people asked personal questions, where emotions spilled everywhere, where your business was everyone's business. You might not have learned how to meter yourself. You might have learned that closeness equals total transparency. Or you might have grown up in the opposite kind of family where nobody talked about anything real. And so you never learned normal levels of disclosure. You learned either silence or explosion. So when you finally feel safe, you explode. Now let's talk neuroscience in a way that doesn't feel like homework. When you're emotionally activated, excited, anxious, nervous, relieved, your brain shifts states. Your prefrontal cortex, the part involved in inhibition and maybe don't say that, can get quieter. Meanwhile, your limbic system, the emotional engine, gets louder. In simple terms, your emotional brain grabs the microphone. That's why you can overshare and watch yourself doing it like you're sitting in the backseat of your own mouth screaming, "Stop, stop." You stop. But you can't, because in that moment, your brain is prioritizing connection and relief over long-term consequences. Later, when you're calm again, your prefrontal cortex comes back online like, "Hello, I have reviewed the footage." And then comes the regret. This is also where the spotlight effect shows up. Psychologists have found that we tend to overestimate how much other people notice and remember our awkward moments. After you overshare, your brain acts like you just announced it on a billboard. In reality, the other person might forget half of it by dinner. But your brain won't, because your brain is built to learn from social risk. For most of human history, social mistakes could cost you belonging. So your mind replays the moment to prevent it from happening again. Regret is your brain's attempt at protection. It's annoying, but it's not pointless. Now, there's another reason to oversharing happens that nobody likes to admit: people pleasing. Sometimes you share too much because you're trying to create closeness fast so you feel secure. You want them to like you want to be relatable, you want to be real. So you give them more than they asked for. It's like handing someone your entire diary and hoping they say, "Wow, you're amazing." And again, that's not because you're manipulative, it's because your nervous system is trying to secure attachment. Some people try to secure attachment by being helpful, some by being funny, some by being impressive, and some by being emotionally transparent. Oversharing can be a form of emotional offering. Here, take my truth. Please don't reject me. There's also the trauma-adjacent layer. If you've lived through chaos or emotionally unsafe environments, you might have learned that you need to explain yourself fully to be understood. You might feel like if you don't give the whole context, people will misjudge you. So you over-explain, you overshare, you build a whole courtroom case for why you are the way you are. Because somewhere inside you is a fear of being misunderstood. And being misunderstood to some nervous systems feels like danger. Now the important question, what do you do with this? Because you don't want to become cold. You don't want to shut down. You don't want to lose your depth. You just want to stop handing your softest parts to random people and then suffering afterward. So here's the perspective shift. Your oversharing isn't a flaw. It's a strength with a volume knob. And it's evidence that you're emotionally alive, that you're honest, that you want real connection, that you're brave enough to speak about things most people hide. That's rare. But like any powerful trait, it needs direction. Think of it like fire. Fire can cook your food and warm your house. But if you set it off in the wrong place, it burns everything. The goal isn't to kill the fire, it's to contain it. So you can start practicing what I call paced vulnerability. You share one layer, then you pause internally and ask, did they earn the next layer? Not, are they a bad person? Just, is this a safe container? Is this a person who holds things gently? You can also practice swapping confession for curiosity. When you feel the urge to dump your whole story, try asking them a question instead. It keeps connection flowing without putting all the exposure on you. And if you overshare because you're anxious, you can train your body first. Slow your breathing. Unclench your jaw. Relax your shoulders. Because the more regulated your nervous system is, the more your prefrontal cortex can do its job. And when you do overshare, and you will sometimes, because you're human, try not to punish yourself for it. Shame makes the cycle worse. Shame tells you, you're too much. And then, you either shut down or overshare again later to repair it. Instead, treat it like information. What was I feeling right before I overshared? Was I nervous, lonely, excited? Did I want closeness? Did I feel unsafe? Because that's the deeper skill, noticing what your oversharing is trying to solve. Your brain doesn't do things randomly. It does things for reasons. And once you know the reason, you can choose a better strategy. So if you're someone who overshares and then regrets it, I want you to hear this. You're not socially broken. You're not weak. You're not too much. You're probably someone who carries a lot inside, and you're learning how to release it in the right places. That's a skill, and skills can be trained. If this hit home, tell me in the comments. What kind of situations make you overshare the most? New people, work conversations, dates, or when you're anxious? And what's your usual regret thought afterward? And if you want more videos that make you feel seen without making you feel judged, subscribe and stick around. Because your patterns aren't random, they're your nervous system trying to connect. And you can learn how to connect without bleeding.